Hi, it's Wednesday, so I'm doing my Facebook Live. Welcome. I'm so glad to be here, and I hope you're here with me. I won't know until after this, probably. I'm not that good at seeing who's on with me, but I have invited some people. I hope that they found me. I thought I was going to be a little sooner, but I wanted to continue the discussion about men and women. And I had told a story last week. Okay, there we go with the reflection again. I'm going to need my glasses a little, though, because I am going to be reading some things. But I told a story last week about my sadness, my gladness and my sadness over the fact that there is going to be an NFL announcer who's a female. And I'm very happy that that is happening. It shows progress. But the fact that I was told that my mother didn't like the sound of women on the radio, and she dissuaded me when I came all excited telling her that that's what I wanted to do. And that kind of was the end. So I was really excited when I found out from John Dickerson, who has taken Charlie Rose's place on CBS this morning. I didn't realize that his mother was Nancy Dickerson, who was one of the first women newscasters. So, okay, here go my glasses again. Let's see, I might even go for my reading glasses. I do 3 pairs of glasses these days. And this is what he said about her. She started in 1952. How coincidental. I was born in 1953. So we're talking about my mother's age, right? When she tells me she doesn't like women's voices on, the radio announcing. So when John Dickerson's mother, Nancy Dickerson, started in the news business, they told her she couldn't go on air because only men went on air because people wouldn't take it seriously. To see a woman giving them the news. What? You have to remember, too, that was the days of what were the jobs that a woman could get when she went to college. She could be a nurse or a teacher. The school that I went to, in fact, was, what was it called? A normal school. It became a college and a university, but I think the name before I got there was a normal school, upstate New York, and that was what women would go to school for. Teacher, nurse, housewife, barefoot and pregnant. There wasn't much of a choice. And of course, why am I going? June Cleaver was our role model of a mother, a perfect mother, right? The boys come home, there are snacks for them and their friends, and they do their homework, and mom's in the kitchen cooking, and, and dad disciplines them. So dad and men have to be the ones giving the news reports for it to be taken seriously. Wow. That was real interesting to see that the timing worked out exactly with my upbringing, that would be how my mother would think about it, because that was what everybody was saying. That was the thought at the time in the culture. They were just making up TV and it was all new. So even now we're seeing more and more women as the anchors on news shows, but it still has not been easy. And now that we have Hoda Kotb, that's her name, taking over for Matt Lauer, she is making a lot less money than him. So we still have that. So I was wondering, what are some of the differences between men and women, right? Let's see if we can find out from Psychology Today, okay? Let's see. Escape the comparison trap. The truth about sex differences. 45 traits that differ between men and women. So I bought the magazine. It was not as interesting a story as I was hoping. I will tell you, if you're thinking of buying it, it's kind of scientific. They actually go through a lot of wanting you to understand what they are always getting slammed for, and that is the fact that people, when they tell you the differences between men and women, people want to take it personally. And they want to say, well, wait a minute, I know a lot of women that are taller than men. And what they're going through the first couple of pages of the article, like half the article, just trying to tell us that these are averages. This is about average women, average men. So now that we know, then they go through the scale. Okay, like I say, it's a little boring. They go through the scale of a 0.5, a 0.9, a 1, a 2, this means that it's just a little different with women. This means it's more different with women. This means it's really different with men. They have these scales. Okay, so let's look at some of the differences. So small differences in women include conformity, general verbal ability. We talk more, right? Indirect aggression, they call it, and then in parentheses, it's gossip. Yeah, probably women gossip more, they talk more. Interpersonal trust. Okay, they trust more. Does that mean that people have earned their trust? Or we as women are just more apt to be willing to trust? Does that mean we can be taken advantage of more easily? That we can be gaslighted, as I've been talking about, more easily? Maybe. Sensitivity to negative emotions. Now that gets into one of my pet peeves, and that is when people go, oh, you're so sensitive. Don't be so sensitive. Oh, you're just overly sensitive. What's the matter with being sensitive? Does it matter? So does that mean, let's see, what would be the opposite? Oh, you're too happy? You're too joyous? I don't know. Why is it bad to be sensitive? But now we see that is one of the lower, it's called a small difference, that women are more sensitive to negative emotions, okay? Negative emotions, being afraid, probably not being angry. I don't think, maybe they're sensitive to other people being angry. Negative emotions, I don't know the list of negative emotions here. Spatial location ability. I love this one because how many men ask their wives, where did I leave my necktie? Where did I leave my keys? Next to the telephone, honey. So women have a better idea in their mind of where something has been laid or where it is. They can visualize, I guess that means more in their mind. Spatial location ability. I would never think of that. A medium difference, just one, tendency to smile. Women have a more tendency to smile. Now, is that, and I'm not sure, because they do talk about hunter-gatherers, so I think they're talking about stuff that have been for eons, differences. But do we smile because we're taught to be polite? Or does this happen in tribal societies too? That's an interesting one. Okay, medium-large difference. I guess it's 4 grades here. Preference for status in mate. Men don't care if their wife is, a high executive so much, but women want their husband to be successful. Already, that's already a difference. And tender-mindedness. Like, who does the baby, the little kid who hurts themselves, who do they run to? Who's going to be more tender and kiss their boo-boo, mommy? Then the large difference. Okay, so this is as high as it goes. body fat and how many women get body shamed, fat shamed. This is a difference. Like Twiggy and those skinny models, does anyone know how that started? They used to have really voluptuous looking models, Zoftig, Rubens Beauties. They had curves, hourglass figures. And the manufacturers, the clothing manufacturers were going, people are looking at the women, they're not looking at the clothes. Let's get just someone that's so not attractive that they will look at our clothes. So they found Twiggy in the 60s. Now that's my era. I remember Twiggy. And then you had to be pencil thin. And now models have to be pencil thin. They have the amount of body fat, it's called 2% or less body fat, that actually only 2% of the population can even, are created biologically to be that thin. So can you imagine? 98% of the population are trying to do what only 2% of the population can do. And how do models stay that thin? By not eating. Because they're making buckets of money. It's worth it for them to stay skinny and starve themselves or binge and purge, right? Eat and throw it up. That's not how women are built. Women need hips to hold the babies on, Men go like that kind of body. Women go like that. It's there, vive la différence. There is a difference. So that's what today is about, talking about the differences. Cooking, and then they say among foragers. So I guess they're talking about the societies where there are hunters and gatherers. Are the gatherers the foragers? That must be it. So the women would be the ones that would cook it up. Early onset of puberty, we pretty much know, and the girls that develop early are the ones that become made fun of by the boys on the playground. Empathy, a human trait, to be empathetic to other humans, animals, plants, the earth, living things. I'm empathetic with trees. I don't like when vines grow all up and down them. I see that and I see them starving, and I try to take the vines down, unwrap them, and I can watch over the years a tree go from kind of bent over from having vines after I've rescued them, that they can straighten up, or maybe another branch starts going straight up. I have that kind of empathy even for, it's not non-living things. A tree is alive, but women are more empathetic. Interest in people over things. Preference for female typical toys. Now that's one place where I was not into dolls. I don't think I was into trucks and cars, but I was into playing baseball, football, basketball, pogo stick, jump rope, skateboard. Anything that, that I could do outside, climbing trees, whatever. Dolls didn't do anything for me. Tea parties didn't do anything for me. So again, this is averages. Boys like dolls too. They started calling them G.I. Joes and made them look like soldiers so that boys could have their dolls. Preference for a taller mate. That, so women want someone taller. That makes sense. Primary caretaker of children among foragers. In a tribe where you're going out hunting and gathering, the women will stay home with the kids. The men can go out hunting. That doesn't have anything to do with this society. Now, sexual disgust. They talk about that, like if you tell a sexual joke or story or something, some fetish someone has, that women will be like, more than men. And vulnerability to depression. Well, how interesting. And yet, when the pharmaceutical companies start creating drugs, do you know that they make them for men as subjects, that they had to make a law where women were also used as test subjects for pharmaceuticals, drugs, because they were only using men. And guess why? Who knows why? They didn't want to use women in the tests for the drugs. Because they have those pesky hormones. We don't want the hormones to get in the way of our results. They made a law. I forget what year it was. I don't think it was that long ago. I think it was this century. And they changed that now they have to test drugs on women too. But this is true. I am serious. This is true. Look it up. Okay, so now men. Now the small, medium, large, and large differences in men. Men, small difference, impulsivity, sexual jealousy. Why would we have especially sexual jealousy more in men? Maybe the same reason that we had chastity belts. Maybe because men don't have the babies, and how do they know that it's theirs? You know, I think it's something in their minds too. It's like they just can't think about another man being with in their woman. They just can't stand the thought. Not that women like it, but sexual jealousy, that's here, okay? That's here as a small to medium. Okay, then we go to medium. Women had just small, men have small, medium, which is the impulsivity, the sexual jealousy. So now medium, 3D geometry ability. They can put together, if they see a box or something like this, they can imagine what it's going to be like all put together. I was not good at those tests. I know that. High blood pressure. Risk-taking. Yes. Sex drive. Again, this is averages. We're not saying that all men have bigger sex drives than women, but sex drive is a medium difference, that men are going to have a higher one. What they say, that men think of sex every few seconds, something like that. How many times a day, how many times a minute. I don't know if it's true, but that's what they say. Task-oriented leadership. Task-oriented leadership. They say that men are medium difference better in general. Remember, average. Okay, a medium-large difference. Mental rotation ability. I'm really good. If that means packing a trunk, getting things into a suitcase or a small space. When I was moving out of my parents' house in Long Island, after they'd lived there 21 years, and I had to take everything that I might want and put it in a Buick LeSabre, I think it was, to get to California with it, or it was gone. I had it all laid out on the driveway, the grass, and my father said, no way, there's no way you're going to get all that in the car. And I am really good at that. I'm really good. I can see where you can put something, just this shape right there. And if you take that out and you put that in there instead, I think that's that. I don't know. Is that what that means? Physical aggression. I would say that's definitely true, right? Men are going to be more like, put up your dukes, let's take it outside. Preference for a physically attractive mate. Okay, so let's look at that. That means women would rather have a taller man who's more successful. Status, it said. Status, I should use the same word. And they want a physically attractive one. And when you think about it, how many women will be with a real, should I say it, ugly, short, bald, fat, rich man, and you look at them and you go, what? Status, even if he's shorter. Or fat, for sure. Okay, so the large difference. deep voice pitch. That is one of the total, I think there were three that were the total, biggest differences. So the deep voice pitch, early mortality. And is that really a difference if we didn't take war into the mix and the men going out and getting killed, or maybe hunting, in the primitive societies? I don't know if that's, like, if they really would die earlier anyway, or if there's some reason that is in there. Grip strength, that was the second one. Deep voice, grip strength, and height are the three that are the biggest differences. In general, men are taller, have deeper voices, and have better grip strength. I happen to know my grip strength because I broke my wrist. See my scar? Can you see it? It's like that big, screws in there and everything. And I had to do, physical therapy and grip, and she could measure. And I'm trying as hard as I can, and it wasn't very good. I think it was like 25 pounds. It was not very good. So opening jars, all those things that we need a man for. That's why. That really is a difference. Obviously, right? Their hands are bigger, they're stronger. That is a big difference. And there's that height. Likelihood of homicide. Wow. So first we had physical aggression as a medium-large, but now we have that they'll actually kill someone too. Preference for rough and tumble play. That's what you see, right? The daddies taking the baby and throwing them up, but also the kids outside on the ground. They're tumbling around. So it looks like that is an actual huge, large difference in how girls are going to be maybe playing with their dolls and the boys will be playing. Who knew? There is a difference. I mean, this is important because in the early feminist days, people wanted it to just be a level playing field, that we're the same, we're equal, but we're not. And I think this is really important to know. Where is there a real difference, and where is it that a woman could be at the news desk, right? That is not a difference. But rough and tumble play is. Just a couple. Oh, throwing ability. That was one of the big ones too. Throwing ability. So, I love to throw. I love to, I was always proud that guys would say I don't throw like a girl. And I can throw pretty hard, but not, I measure it because I go to the little, pitching booths and stuff, and I can't go over like 46 miles an hour. And there are high school boys that are doing 75 and 6. And I mean, that is definitely throwing ability. That's again, that physical strength. Upper body strength, another one. Vulnerability to to be psychopathic. Wow. Okay, that's an interesting one. Psychopaths. Gaslighting, psychopaths, so women are trusting, men can be psychopathic. That's not a good combination. Very interesting. Okay, I want to read this because I'm starting to look at the difference. This is actually a subject I've been interested in for a long time. So when I went to the Decatur Book Festival a few years ago, I bought this book from an Emory professor who spoke Women, After All. And what's the subtitle? Sex, Evolution, and the End of Male Supremacy. So just want to read a little bit. Very interesting. I think that you'll enjoy this. You probably know the twist in it already. I've kind of given it away. There is a human genetic fluke. So I'm just reading the flap, right? The very first thing. That is surprisingly common due to a change in a key pair of chromosomes. In the normal condition, the two look the same. But in this disorder, one is malformed and shrunken beyond recognition. The result is a shortened lifespan, higher mortality at all ages. Oh, that might be the answer. An inability to reproduce, premature hair loss, and brain defects, variously resulting in attention deficit, hyperactivity, conduct disorder, hypersexuality, and an enormous excess of both outward and self-directed aggression. It's called maleness. Interesting. That little Y chromosome, he's saying, malformed and shrunken beyond recognition, the X. Oh, the X. I guess that's what happens. It loses a little piece of itself and becomes a Y. Malformed. And then this is very interesting. So as the flap ends, it's telling a little story about a tribe in Africa where they're doing the hunting-gathering and getting along really well. And then they say, recent human history has upset this balance as a dense world of war fostered extreme male dominance. But our species has been recovering over the past 2 centuries, 1800s, 1900s, and an unstoppable move toward equality is afoot. I don't know, has it really been that much in the, since 1800s, 1900s compared to the 1700s? I don't know. It will not be the end of men, but it will be the end of male supremacy and a better, wiser world for women and men alike. And then, I started just perusing the book. This was in September of 15, and he's got the chapter on the sexual abuse way before the Time's Up movement. This is... And he's reminding me of all the different men that were behaving badly before the Me Too started just a couple months ago. Remember last week I said that was October 5th when Harvey Weinstein got caught. But he's talking about mayors of San Diego having a whole bunch of affairs. There was the South Carolina governor, who I think is still the governor. I think I saw him on TV the other day. Who was supposed to be hiking the Appalachian Trail, and he was really with his mistress in South America. They say now hiking the Appalachian Trail is becoming a new euphemism for adultery. Now we have, what's his name, Wiener, that was going on from then. New Jersey governor, South Carolina, Virginia. Was that I think the Virginia governor was having an affair with a man on his wife. I mean, it's just like, there are so many things that I had and then he goes, of course, the Catholic Church, that's been systematically abusing children and covering it up and paying for it. And I know that because I have a friend who happens to know that. He works at St. Patrick's Cathedral, and he's been hearing for years about the millions of dollars. He's seen the checks, basically, being written. So this is not new. This isn't new. And this was an important quote that I found from Reese Witherspoon. Did anyone see Oprah talking on the Sunday Morning show, or maybe you've seen it on the CBS morning shows? They've been repeating parts of the beautiful interview with about 10 women that are part of the Time's Up movement in Hollywood. And Reese Witherspoon says this comes from somebody that I can't pronounce the name, so I'm not even going to try to say it. So she attributed it, but it's a great quote. Silence helps the tormentors. It doesn't help the tormented. Neutrality helps the oppressors, not the oppressed. That's why I'm saying truth-telling wins, because we have to be speaking our truth. And we have to know, what is our truth? How do we know? How do we know how we feel? How do we know what's been repressed, that we don't even remember what happened? Well, the body tells. There's lots of tells. Why are women more depressed? They're often more victimized. And I have something else. Oh yeah. So now what we're coming up with is kind of a reckoning of what are the differences in the crimes that have been perpetrated. Are they crimes? Because now we got Asiz Ansari, right? He's in, I guess, a sitcom that I can't remember, The Office or something. I'm saying it wrong. That's not it. But all of a sudden, somebody's talking about having the worst night of sex in their life with him, and that she tried to say no. She was giving him all the nonverbal cues of a no, and he persisted. And when she really started thinking about it and talking about it, she said, well, I couldn't really verbalize. I wasn't saying it as much in words. And that often happens. So one of the things that came out was, okay, so he's guilty of not being a mind reader. I think that was the name of an op-ed that came out. Aziz Ansari is guilty of not being a mind reader. That was in the New York Times by Bari Weiss, a woman. And she really wants us to stop and think that she doesn't want women to just become victims and call everybody a perpetrator and say that, oh, it's all their fault. They're hurting me. They're doing something. Because why should women be seen as helpless victims? That would actually be a step back. So we can't see everything as harassment and assault. There has to be a time when women just feel empowered and they start speaking up. And that's where the idea of truth-telling wins. That's what I'm saying, that we have to be able to speak our truth. So I want to give a little example of a moment of truth that I watched yesterday. Some of you who know me may know that I've invented a game. I've invented a couple of games, but the one that I invented for myself is called the Game of Clarity. And it's based on the alchemical hypnotherapy work that I do. And this game has things in it, that cards that you pick, dice that you roll. So one of the piles of cards that you might land on the board is called a moral dilemma. So one of the players last night gets a moral dilemma where she is asked, your father wants you to come for a visit, to visit for a holiday, and you would have more fun if you didn't. What do you do? And she's supposed to give the right answer and then roll the dice and get a high number to indicate that she's empowered in her knowledge of what to say, that it's an empowered answer. That's what we want in the game, an empowered answer. Women's empowerment, but this is anybody who's playing. So she did not know what to say. She couldn't. So sometimes when somebody rolls and they lose it, I just let them keep thinking, because it's a big lesson. This is a lesson that she'll never forget. So she kept coming up with different answers, but in her mind, she got stuck. She kept going, I feel guilty. I'll have a terrible time. He'll want me to leave in an hour. He'll be rude. But if I don't go, I would feel guilty. I said, is that a feeling? Is that really how you feel? How does your inner child feel about it? Now, it turns out she has been a client of mine. I use stuffed animals. Anybody who knows me knows that I talk a lot about hugging stuffed animals to take care of your inner child. I promote that as the best thing that you can do for yourself, is to sleep with a stuffed animal at night and know that it is your inner child and you are self-nurturing in the way that we say babies, little kids run to mama to kiss their boo-boos. So as you're snuggling with a stuffed animal at night, you are feeling that love you're giving your inner child as she or he is sleeping. You're giving them that love. Okay, so I say to her, when you came for sessions, which was the stuffed animal that you would choose? And she said, the elephant. So I ran in, got the elephant, put it in her arms, and within not even, it wouldn't even be a second, as soon as she felt, and this is in hypnotherapy, we'd call it an anchor. When she felt that stuffed animal, that was an anchor that brought her back to all the sessions we had done where she had rescued her own inner child. And as soon as she felt that little girl in her arms and she thought about bringing her to Daddy's, she went, I don't want to go. That would be awful. And it was that quick. And we're talking 10, 15 minutes of this wishy-washy, what would you do, how would you feel, and her emotions just going all over the place. She didn't know her own truth, but it became apparent as soon as, and this is a line that I like to teach my clients, is what you're going to do in the best interest of your inner child. So for everything in your life, like you're about to eat something or, whatever, would it be in the best interest of your inner child? Well, the second that she got that connection back with her inner child, she knew that going to see Daddy was hell no in the interest of her inner child. It was like, no way. Why would I do that? Why would I put myself and her, her little girl in that position? It was so clear. So that's what I mean. I want you, well, the game happens to be called clarity, but I do want you to have that clarity about your truth. Because we know we're watching debates where people are, it's he said, he said. There's always the he said, she said. There's all these different truths. But what I am trying to promote here is people sitting and knowing their own truth and being able to say it when it counts. If you're in bed with a person and you don't want to be there, it's not too late. You can still say, I made a mistake. I need to go. This isn't right. It doesn't feel right. And that person, if you don't tell them how you feel, those nonverbal cues they might be dense. They may not be able to read them. It may be, is this just like hard to get? Or, so you got to say it. So you've got to know your truth, be able to speak your truth. And that's what I'm doing here. I don't know if there's anybody here. At first I saw a little one. I don't see anything. I don't see any likes or hearts. I don't see anybody watching. I think I'm all by myself. This is not easy, I will tell you. Talking to myself, although the name of my book is Talking to Myself, is, it's not that much fun. I like the sound of my own voice, but not that much. I am really wanting to be a voice for people to hear and hopefully learn from, and be empowered by. And if we know the differences between men and women, then maybe that will help us to go, oh, okay, well, that's, I'm going to ask him to open the jar. He's got more strength than I do. Or, oh, he's being aggressive. Well, that's what men do. Or, whatever it is. So I'm trying to spread some facts. We could call it truth. And I want people to learn to be in their own truth that they sit in. This can lie. Remember, the angel over one shoulder, the devil over the other. Fred Flintstone. Or Here Comes the Judge. What was it? Flip Wilson. Flip Wilson. The devil made me do it. feel your truth. Thank you for watching. Hopefully sometime later, because I don't think there's anyone here right now. Please, if you found me in the wilderness, can you tune in on Wednesdays? Can you tell other people? Can you find me on my page and share it? Bring more people here. I think I've got something to say that needs to be heard by a lot of people. 34 years working on myself, teaching other people, being a therapist and helping a lot of people to heal and to play through their issues in my game of clarity. I want to be here to be a voice in the wilderness, and I appreciate your time. Thanks. See you next Wednesday. Bye.